The elevator jolted violently, then shuddered to a complete stop. Michael Harrington, a 42-year-old millionaire CEO whose name was known in every corner of the business world, found himself pressed against the cold metal wall, heart racing. He had faced boardroom battles, hostile takeovers, and financial crises that could crush empires overnight. But nothing in his life had prepared him for this, being trapped in a small, claustrophobic elevator with a stranger. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting harsh shadows on the polished brass panels, and for the first time in decades, Michael felt powerless. Across from him, a young woman clutched a worn backpack, her eyes wide with the same panic that he felt but softened by exhaustion and quiet resilience. Her name was Grace Thompson, a 29-year-old single mother juggling 2 jobs, daycare pickups, and bills that seemed to multiply while opportunities passed her by. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and moments that can change your life forever, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Grace's hands trembled slightly, but there was a quiet strength in the way she held herself. She wasn't dressed in business suits or designer heels like Michael. Instead, she wore a faded denim jacket over a soft sweater, her hair pulled back in a loose ponytail that revealed the exhaustion beneath her bright, determined eyes. She had spent the morning rushing her son to school, stopping at the laundromat and picking up groceries, all before she entered this towering office building in downtown Chicago, hoping to make a good impression at her temporary administrative job. And now, of all things, she was trapped in an elevator with the man whose face stared from glossy magazines, whose company had millions in the bank, and whose life seemed impossibly untouchable. The silence was suffocating at first. Michael's mind raced through solutions, contingency plans, and worst-case scenarios. Grace, on the other hand, closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep, steadying breath. She could feel the sweat gathering at her hairline, the ache in her back from carrying her son's backpack and her own groceries, but she refused to let fear take control. She was used to facing impossible situations with limited resources. Fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Michael's ego, used to command and control, began to chip away under the reality of their shared confinement. He studied Grace, noticing the lines of responsibility etched on her young face, the faint bruises of exhaustion under her eyes, and the quiet dignity in the way she leaned against the wall. There was no pity in her gaze, no expectation that he should help, just an unwavering human presence that somehow made him feel small yet strangely alive. Then Grace spoke, her voice calm but deliberate. She said something that cut through the tension like sunlight through storm clouds. "You know," she began, "sometimes life locks you in a place you didn't plan for, and it's not about what you have or what you've earned. It's about what you do when you're stuck there. It's about choosing kindness even when no one else notices." Michael froze. His entire life had been a series of meticulously calculated moves, each decision measured by profit, status, or image. Yet here was this woman, younger than his own daughter would have been, saying something that resonated deeper than any motivational speech or business seminar. He felt the weight of every lonely night, every cutthroat negotiation, every relationship sacrificed for ambition pressed down on him. For the first time, he understood that wealth meant nothing without empathy, that power was hollow without compassion. Grace didn't wait for him to respond. She continued, describing her daily struggles, the endless cycle of work and worry, the way she had to choose between paying rent or buying groceries, the sleepless nights spent comforting her sick son. Her voice carried no bitterness, only a raw honesty that left Michael humbled. He realized she was teaching him, without even trying, lessons that no classroom or boardroom could provide: resilience, courage, and the quiet strength of a human heart tested by adversity. In the dim, flickering light, Michael felt an unfamiliar urge to confess the truth of his own life. The emptiness that came from prioritizing money over moments, business deals over family dinners, recognition over real love. Grace's presence seemed to strip away his defenses effortlessly, and in that small, stifling elevator, he allowed himself to feel, not just the fear of being trapped, but the profound gratitude for encountering someone who reminded him that humanity mattered more than everything he had worked so hard to accumulate. Hours passed, though it was only 20 minutes, and Michael found himself listening, truly listening, as Grace shared small victories and small defeats. She spoke of moments of joy in her son's laughter, the pride she felt when he learned to ride his bike, the comfort she took in fleeting acts of kindness from strangers. Each story chipped away at the hardened armor he had built around himself, replacing it with a fragile but growing empathy he didn't know he was capable of feeling. Finally, after what felt like eternity, the elevator jolted again, the lights stabilizing as the emergency alarm sounded. The doors creaked open, and the building's maintenance staff ushered them out, apologetic and frantic. But Michael didn't step away immediately. He turned to Grace, and for the first time the CEO in him didn't matter. What mattered was the human connection, the shared understanding that life could humble anyone, regardless of bank accounts or titles. He reached into his wallet, pulled out a business card, and pressed it into her hand. Not as a favor, not as charity, but as an acknowledgement of the strength he had witnessed, the lesson he had learned. "If you ever need anything," he said softly, "don't hesitate to call me." Grace looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of disbelief and quiet hope, and for a moment the social gap between them vanished completely. Two human souls had collided in a tiny elevator, and both had been forever changed. Outside, the city hummed with its usual chaos, unaware of the transformation that had taken place just a few feet above the lobby. Michael returned to his office with a renewed sense of purpose, no longer seeing success solely in terms of numbers, contracts, or accolades. He began to implement small acts of kindness in his company, supporting single parents, investing in community programs, and mentoring young employees with patience and empathy. Grace, in turn, continued her struggle, but now with the unexpected assurance that someone believed in her, someone recognized her resilience, and someone valued her story. Life doesn't always offer second chances in ways you expect. Sometimes it delivers them in cramped, flickering elevators, through strangers' words and shared vulnerability. Michael and Grace's encounter was brief, but its impact was enduring, a reminder that compassion, honesty, and courage could bridge even the widest gaps between people. If this story touched your heart, make sure to hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to our channel to hear more stories of human resilience and hope. And before you go, I'd love for you to comment below. What's one small act of kindness that changed your life? Your story might inspire someone today. Sometimes all it takes is one unexpected encounter to remind us that even in our darkest, most suffocating moments, humanity is waiting, patient, gentle, and profoundly transformative.